Questions?
Good afternoon,
What the
everyone.
hell's this?
Coach Leach is at the podium. We'll go questions in the room first. Go ahead, Theo.
You talked about wanting to see a tougher team the last couple of weeks. Did you see a tougher team last week during practice, and do you think that carried over into Saturday's game?
I thought we played tougher. I thought we played tougher, and I thought we prepared well in that regard.
How do you think the secondary kind of battled some of the attrition it faced last week with a few players being dismissed and then on the field the last couple of weeks? They seemed to play especially well in the second half against Stanford.
They played better. I think they played more motivated. I think we isolated reps and guys that were more committed to playing, and I think that I thought they played together better too, because I thought they did a better job of doing what they were coached to do.
Were you impressed with Derek Langford especially?
With who?
Derek Langford. He made a few plays on the ball late in the game and gave up a few plays early, but seemed to kind of rebound from them.
Thought he did a good job. Thought he could have been. Really think that if he prepared all year like he did this last week, that he'd really be a really good player right now.
Real quick, what was your initial thoughts on seeing your bobblehead deal up there?
I don't know. I keep hearing something about it. I don't know what they do exactly. Gus Johnson Ford, I guess that's where you get them. Got to go to Gus Johnson Ford and test drive a four-door to get one of these suckers, maybe. I ought to get a free car out of the deal, maybe. I don't know how they work. Well, that's good to have those. Where do you get one?
At the game. First 10,000 people get them on Saturday.
Oh, yeah. Well, grab me one. All right, go ahead.
Do you like those sayings that it's got going?
I don't know what they all are. I mean, obviously, I think they're brilliant sayings since a lot of them I've been saying for years. And so if I like the other ones different, then I'd adopt those and dismiss. But I don't know what's on there exactly.
Otherwise, Oregon State, the team that I think maybe has surprised some people through the year. What have you seen on film from them? What kind of challenges did they throw your way?
Well, I think they got quite a bit of dimension what they do on offense. They got a combination of just solid, hard-nosed running plays, and then some trick plays. They got a quarterback who I think is starting to play better and better. And then, defensively, they blitz more than anybody we've played so far.
They have a wide receiver, Isaiah Hodgins. What makes him so good?
He's kind of powerful, not just quick and fast, but kind of powerful, fast, and comes out of his cuts really quickly. I think he's really a good player.
And in the red zone, they've been pretty good, 91%, I think, scoring overall. 84% of the time they score a touchdown. What makes them so good in the red zone?
I don't know. They're just persistent. I mean, we're good in the red zone, too. I mean, you just try to make routine plays, and you put it in. I mean, it's been us and them that have kind of led the thing back and forth all year. So,
Coach, you've usually given a fair amount of freedom to your quarterbacks and trust them to make decisions. But Max Borghi said that first run play, obviously, when Gordon handed off to him, that him and Gordon kind of talked about it on their own before. Was it kind of a surprise to you that, I think it was that first touchdown that he talked about, that he didn't know that, you didn't know that they were going to run it?
Well, that's not entirely accurate. I mean, if you tell somebody ace check or whatever, they're going to check something. But no, we wanted them to look at the options there and stuff like that, and that's by design, so you can adjust to it immediately rather than wait, rather than call timeout and go have some kind of a little committee meeting or anything like that. You want to be able to react. So I think I think there's sort of a misunderstanding in the structure how we do it. I mean, it's not like all of a sudden, they jumped ranks and all of a sudden just called something. I mean, it's the flexibility in the ability to do that's kind of designed into, what we do, not just there, but on the open field as well.
And offensively, obviously one of Anthony Gordon's better games, but he's had good games all throughout the year. Is there anything about being at home that makes this team more confident, more consistent?
I don't know. We've played better at home, and so I think that's focused because I've thought that, this team from the beginning, we've had issues with, consistent focus and some of those problems we've eradicated. But, both coaching and playing. And so I think that, but I do think, I think biggest thing playing on the road is just focus. I mean, you just do the same thing over and over again, look at it the same way, just in a different setting.
And looking at what Jonathan Smith's done at Oregon State, taking over like a 1-11 team back in 2017. This year is their best year since, I think, 2012, but kind of inconsistent, like you say, like offense firing one time, defense firing another game. In your experience, when you first started at schools, what's the toughest part about those turnaround years where some things are going well and some things aren't?
I think finding and keeping everybody on board, because some of them are going to want to get, fall into bad habits. Anytime there's a transition, people fall into different habits and aren't necessarily part of the philosophy that you're pushing. And so I think just creating kind of that consistent culture where everybody does things the same way and the way you expect it to happen. And I think, and that's constantly got to be reinforced. I mean, we've had to do a little bit of that ourselves this year.
And Jake Luton is a quarterback you've seen for a long time now. I think he's a 6-year senior.
Yeah, I don't know how they have 6-year seniors, but at any rate, yeah, no, he's a good player.
What do you kind of see out of him as of late?
Pretty big, fires the ball, got a strong arm, and I do think he's kind of key at elevating their offense. I think that sometimes they can play at an incredibly high level, and I think he's one of the big reasons for that.
Hodgins was committed to you guys for a few months way back when, and then he decommitted and obviously signed with Oregon State. What do you remember about recruiting him, and were you surprised to see him flip to them late in the process?
No, I don't remember much about it. I remember we liked him quite a lot, and I can't remember if he had a relationship with somebody there or what, But anyway, he decided to go there.
You probably heard after the game that Max guaranteed a win over Oregon State and guaranteed that you guys would be going bowling. Do you like to see that? Do you like to see a player exude confidence, or would you prefer that they just kind of go and play?
I don't know. They need to focus on their job. If he does a good job focusing on his job, then our chances are better.
What have you seen from that resurgence from Oregon State? Something on the field different from last year, if anything?
I thought last year, you saw elements of all of it. I think, they're just doing things better. They broke out a bunch of trick plays against us last year. They're the same basic schemes. It's not like they've changed anything really. But, as they've worked together longer and some guys have gotten a little older, I think they're just playing together better. Really. I mean, it looks a lot like last year. It's just more polished.
And going back to the Stanford game, you guys allowed, I think, 10 or so rushing yards or something along those lines. Where does that performance grade out to you? And in your career here, have you seen a performance like that by the rush defense?
I thought we did a pretty good job. I thought we did a good job of line movement. I thought we did a good job shifting our front and occasional pressure. We were kind of open to pressure more. But we did keep it disrupted, and then they threw a bunch of screens at us, more screens than we expected. And then I thought we did a pretty good job reeling in the screen, and then, of course, struggled with some of the downfield plays.
When you were a student at BYU, did you ever have trouble deciding whether to stay in Provo for a game, to watch a game, or go home for Thanksgiving break to spend more time with your family? And obviously, a lot of students are kind of making that call this week to stay Saturday or go home early.
It varied, kind of varied. I mean, keep in mind, back then it was, back when it was 55-mile-an-hour speed limit, which those were dark days. And then now the state of Wyoming, you did have a little wiggle room because it's a very rational state that understands that extreme circumstances call for extreme measures. So you didn't necessarily have to go 55 the entire way once you got into Wyoming. Symbolically, the state of Wyoming, at 12:01 a.m., when you could shift from the 55-mile-an-hour speed limit, the Wyoming State Legislature changed changed speed limit that they could set their own speed limit. How about that? So maybe we should put them in charge of some of the things the California state legislatures sees themselves in charge of right now. But at any rate, no, it was 10 and a half hours away, so it's quicker now. You can drive faster, wider roads and stuff, and but it was 10 and a half hours away. So yeah, it varied, whether home or away.
Do you remember if there was a marquee game that maybe one of those years that most students wanted to stay for because of ability or rivalry or anything like that?
I don't, but we definitely want our students to stay one more day here, and a lot of them are close enough to get back and all the rest, and that to just bring their parents out here, and they can hang out at Zeppo's. There's all kinds of bowling. You could go see if you can catch a steelhead or something. You could all kinds of great places and great fun here in Pullman.
Any questions on the phone line for Coach Leach? Questions on the phone line?
Okay, back in the room.
Mike, the play early in the third quarter where Tay kind of breaks off a crossing route and heads downfield, 30-yard gain. Can you kind of talk about the genesis of that, maybe?
I'm trying to think which play it is.
Maybe installed.
Tay had a couple explosives. Well, one, of course, we run the mesh, and so we put a route on top of the mesh. It might have been that one.
Right.
And then he's just running across looking for a hole, I mean, if they chase him, he keeps running. If they don't chase him, he'll settle into a hole. And so I think it was probably some combination of that.
Can you kind of talk about the genesis of it, why you thought that might work in that game?
Well, one, we've run it for years, and it's a play that Tay's good at, a play that Gordon's good at, because some plays complement different people differently, and so it is kind of one of our base plays. And then, see here it says that kid's 6'7". How about that? So it's one of our base plays we've run all the time. We really run it nearly every game. And then it's one that gives us a lot of options with regard to who we can get the ball to. And then, you just go and kind of read it out. But we run it quite a bit. I mean, we've run it every game this year. We'll run it this week. So hopefully complete it again.
Tay's freshman year, you kind of held him up as an example of work ethic to the other receivers, I think. Has he continued to hold that standard?
The last couple weeks, he's practiced extremely well the last couple weeks. I think sometimes, and not with a lot of players, with a lot of players, and I think this happens to a lot of players, just people in general. Have early success, which you did have early success, and have initial success, and then, you feel like you've kind of accomplished something, and as tough as football is, and to focus, and, family issues and external things that come into play, I think it becomes hard to focus. I think, everybody goes through lapses from time to time where they got to reset, and I think he's kind of reset with a vengeance the last couple of weeks.
In last year against Oregon State, that all the trick plays they brought out, did your guys start reacting to that stuff better as the game progressed, or what were your thoughts there?
Well, we had a crummy first half. I thought we had a bad first half, and I wasn't impressed with that at all. And Oregon State came out really swinging, and that included a bunch of trick plays we hadn't seen, or nobody's seen. And then on those trick plays, you're usually 50-50 or so best case scenario, and a lot of times 30%, and then they're still worth running, because it keeps the other team off balance, and plus you might get a big play out of it. But as it turned out for them, they were like 100% on them. They hit every one of them, and about the time you thought they were going to run out of trick plays, there'd be another one. And then the second half, we kind of regrouped as a team and kind of, got our whole focus and regrouped and all that. And we were extremely explosive the second half. And then, because I can't remember the score, we were down at the half, and then came out the second half and got control of the game the second half, and could have done all that the first half, but just didn't. And then, and I did think our defense played pretty well that second half.
With those trick plays, is it just keeping an eye on the ball to try to prevent against them?
You just got to be where you're supposed to be. We're running this way, and then all of a sudden there's a reverse. Well, if your eyes are where they're supposed to be and you're in the gap you're supposed to be in, you should hit it right in the mouth. But the thing is everybody's really motivated to attack and react to something, and so they try to get you ahead of yourself on it. And if you do it, then you're not going to be in the right place.
Coach, senior day on Saturday, how would you describe this year's class of seniors? What kind of legacy do they leave behind?
A good group. I thought, this is a good group, very, very diligent group. We expect to, play some more games here. So this senior day stuff, it's the senior day stuff. I mean, you'll have, journalists and well-wishers nearly get choked up over the deal. And, seniors, I'll tell you one thing that we don't do, never have done, is senior day, go down there to that locker room and sit there and go have these misty journeys down memory lane and, sit and, worry about, this, that, the other thing. I mean, because you're busy going out there playing a game. And so our head's focused on going out there and playing the game. Now, as a team, especially at the bowl site and things like that, then and after the bowl, when you have the banquet, you kind of celebrate, the memories and what you did together and things like that. Senior day, with regard to going out there and getting your carnation or whatever you get, that's really kind of a deal for the fans to send off the seniors, and I think it's good. I think it's important. I think our guys are excited about it. But to be perfectly honest, I don't think it's indulged particularly long. I mean, I think it's they're locked into the game. Plus, they're going to have another game. Plus, there's going to be other practices. Plus, we're going to do plenty of other things together. So within the team, we get. It's not like after senior day you see somebody in the hall and you say, "Hey, I thought you were gone." No, I mean we're going to see each other plenty. So you guys have your fun with senior day, and we'll try to get a first down.
There will be tears for sure. I'm wondering, I kind of ask this question most years, but as the Pac-12 is kind of winding down, looking at the national picture, where do you think, or have you thought about, I know you're focused on your team, but Oregon, Utah, both teams that have been in that playoff discussion, and kind of where you think they fall nationally?
I haven't thought about that one bit. I think they're fine teams, and I think they certainly belong in the discussion. And I think that, and of course, I think the playoff system is flawed to the point where they need to have a minimum 16 teams, preferably as high as 64. Other conferences have a expanded playoff thing, and then instead we have debates about who goes on the committee, so we can pare it down to 4 because somehow that's special. Well, it's not special. That's just not a smart way to do it. So, no, I haven't thought about that at all. I hope they both get in the playoffs.
I think up until Saturday, every team in the Pac-12 was still in the bowl picture, still could reach a bowl game. I'm not sure if that's the case still. I think most of the teams still are. What does that say about the Pac-12 and just the competitive nature of the conference, top to bottom?
Really kind of what I've been saying for a couple of years. Top to bottom, our conference is, we don't bottom out this conference. This conference doesn't, as you get to the bottom, anybody can beat you, I think we're the deepest conference of any conference in the country, I think, I think if you played, if you had a tournament and you played, each conference played each other backwards, I think we'd win the thing going away. And I don't think it'd be by a few games either. So,
have you had many interactions with Misi's parents, who I guess have kind of been here all season from Australia? They rented out an apartment here in Pullman, and just to be able to watch him play his senior year.
Oh, his family's outstanding. I met his dad. His dad played rugby all over the world. Misi's dad was truly a great international athlete,
Is that also pretty impressive, just the commitment that they have to move from Australia and live here for 6 months to watch him play?
Well, really, it'd be pretty fun if you could do it. You get it really would be pretty fun. I'm kind of jealous, and then I think it's kind of a smart way to do it.
What has he meant for the defense and just kind of being a figurehead for you guys? And he's kind of been one of the guys that we talk to constantly. Seems like he's always been a pretty good representative for the team, and he's obviously played pretty well this last season too.
Really good figurehead, really good leader, really good work ethic. Just a very committed guy, and plus it's entertaining to listen to him talk. So that kind of elevates the whole Misi experience a little bit.
One of the thicker accents of any player you've ever had to.
Yeah, but I think he pushes it a little bit. I think Misi's kind of having fun with that too. Yep, I do.
Let's go one more chance on the phone line. Any questions on the phone line for Coach Leach?
All right, that's it.
Yeah, Coach Scott Hansen, Seattle Times. Was that the biggest 1 week improvement you've seen this season? And how good can you guys be to continue to improve like that?
I think it was our biggest 1 week improvement. I don't know. We just got to keep getting better. That's the thing is try to improve each week. Try to not let anything cloud your focus or your attention. Try not to, have any sense of dwelling on any past successes or failures. Just constantly move forward and focus that way.
Any other questions on the phone line? Okay, back in the room.
Just curious about a 1 week improvement. How much, the players talked about energy, and Theo asked the question early on, but how much does energy and that stuff really make a difference if you're a coach? And, we talk about people being more communicative and all that stuff, but how much does it really help in 1 week?
Well, I think the energy and motivation is the single most important thing, because I think that's where it all starts. I think that's where effort, because energy is a byproduct of effort. And so I think effort's where everything starts as far as your focus and drills. You're playing hard, you're moving fast, you're working together at meaningful to you, whether you win a play, it being meaningful to you whether you're improving, it's meaningful to you. Whether the other guy's improving, it's you have a core values of what's important to you in your locker room. I think that's where it all starts, and I think starts with effort. But then what you get from it, the first thing you get and you notice is the energy in the locker room, where it becomes contagious and everybody's involved.
You mentioned Anthony Gordon having a short memory, but compared to other teams past, collectively, how good of a short memory does this team have from the last loss or the last bad play?
I think pretty good. The biggest thing is I think we get in our own way. I think we've spent points in this season getting in our own way. Whether it's getting some players' attention, whether it's as a team overall, focusing together. I think in some cases, we had too many guys that thought it'd be too easy, whether it's, coaches getting caught up in things, too many other things and feeling sorry for themselves or what it may be, I just think that the whole consistency and focus is the biggest key.
Anything else for Coach? All right, go ahead, Rob.
All right, Coach, the question this week is simple. What are your thoughts on beavers?
There you are. How about that? I've actually been by a number of beaver dams, and it really is quite impressive. You try to see where they enter and where they get out, and and I've seen them in the wild, out hunting or something, and see them in the wild. They're really impressive, and when I was bear hunting, that's like the. If they find a beaver, if they shoot a beaver, that's supposed to be great bear bait because bears love eating beavers, evidently for some reason known to them. And really quite impressive and very much sort of a animal kingdom aberration.
And that was my follow-up. Is there anything more impressive in the animal kingdom than a beaver dam?
That's pretty impressive. Although a platypus, platypus has some qualities that are unique that only they have that, have some beaver qualities. It'd be cool to kind of see what it looks like up inside one of those deals.
That's good. Thanks, Coach.
All right. Thank you.